The West Tigers coming off their first win of the season, taking on the Dragons, who are coming off a loss. So head-to-head, the Dragons lead 22-20. In their last 5, the Dragons have only won 1. And obviously the last 5, we won't go any further, but the Tigers have only won 1 game. But they did win their last game, so they are coming in with a bit of a positive attitude. Points scored, well, the Dragons have shown that they can score points. The Tigers have struggled. They only have 118, and obviously points conceded. There is only 5 between them. So both teams can leak points, especially through the middles, but obviously both teams struggle to score. Like, yes, okay, Dragons scored 170, but I think almost 100 of those are probably against 3 different teams, including my team, where they conceded, what they scored, 24, 25 against us. So they can put on some
26.
points. 26, but I do think they lack in the area of creativity. But Baxter, talk to me about the Tigers. Talk to me about, we've both been in teams where we've won games. We've both been in teams when we've been on massive losing streaks. How much of a difference can getting that, not just that first win, but a massive win under your belt? How much can that change your training for the week, your preparation for the week, rocking up the next week's game? It's a massive momentum change.
Yeah, I've as you said, I've been a part of losing streaks. I've been a part of winning streaks, and when you're on the high of winning, usually players that don't usually appear to training appear. Everybody's getting a little bit earlier. You know, if you're kicking off training at say 7, everybody's getting there about 6:15ish on a good day, maybe 6:30. And then when you're on those really bad losing streaks, a training session could go from, having 20 to 25 people turn up, and then when you start losing, you could just be 5, 7, maybe 8 players turn up, and everybody's turning up at maybe 5 minutes to 7. So it is funny to be a part of that game, that situation, but. The Tigers, the important win last week. They popped their cherry for the year. They saved it for the right person, for the right team. Dragons. Before you make a prediction, I will give you a stat. And, let's crack into this 7:35 kickoff.
I'm going to say, I'm going to try and guess your stat before we move into the lads. Is it that the Dragons haven't won a game at Magic Round?
I've got a little bit more to it. But, yeah, they haven't won a game at Magic Round, and they're the amount of points by.
All right, well, you know what? We'll talk about that when we do get to the Dragons. Let's look at this Tigers side, fresh off a win. You got Jeraine Buller, you got David Nofaluma, Stafford Toa, Tommy Talau, Junior Tupu, Brendan Wakeham, Luke Brooks, Big Stefano, Api Coruscant, David Clemmer, Isaiah Papali'i, John Bateman, Fonu Paul, Jake Simpkin, Joe Offenhage, Alex Twell, who I've heard rumors that if he scores, there's a group down now. I'm not going to say who it is, but there is another podcast. There is another group that's trying to get a little bit of emotion of what happened when Buddy Franklin kicked his 1,000th goal. Maybe there's a bit of
a I've heard that Planet Hollywood down at the Gold Coast will be allowing the whole West Tigers team to come down there and have a night out in the town at Planet Hollywood. If you've been there, it is a place to be.
Well, you know what? Let's hope they do get the win. Let's hope Twal does get across, because I think if there's one week where you want him to score, it's going to be magical, and it's going to be at Magic Round. But you got Asu Kapoa in the 17 with Alex Seyfarth, Justin Matamua, Dane Laurie, Sean Bloor, and Tristan Riley in the 22 jersey. Now, obviously, a big out that was there last week. Brett Naden is out. He has accepted his 3-match suspension for the shoulder charge on Tommy Talau. He has accepted that shoulder charge, which means Tommy Talau does come into this backline at center position. And obviously, Asu Kapoa, the man in the 17, is returning from an illness. So, again, this isn't a squad where you're going to sit there and go, it's a great squad. Look at it on paper. Look at this, look at that, because they have talent. They also have some gaps where you go, they need more experience in those positions. But what this Sharks side does have is
Tiger side.
Sorry, Tiger side. I'm on fire tonight. What this Tiger side does have is, I want to say they have a lot of heart. Like, yes, it's their first win in what was it, 260 something days, but
273.
273. And you can tell someone does the stats and I just talk off the top of my head, but they definitely have heart. They put effort into games, especially the last couple of weeks. They came so close against Manly. They just lost. They were able to back it up against the back-to-back premiers and get a result last weekend. So, Baxter, what do you make of this side? And then we'll jump into the Dragons, where I've just had a stat actually come across my desk. So we'll see if they match up when we do get to it.
Yeah, look, this is a good squad. Not in recent, before last week, not even, they haven't been the best. Buller in the fullback role, keeping Dane Laurie on the extended bench is a weird one, because I thought Dane Laurie's the man to go forward with, but Buller's shown and proven to me, especially me, a reason why he deserves a jersey in the starting 13 run-on squad. So hopefully they can just continue this form from last week in that wet weather football. I don't know what the weather's like up in Magic Round for this weekend, but I think it's all sunshine and rainbows for this weekend, and hopefully the Tigers can move forward with another back-to-back win here.
Well, I will say, I think the field needs it to be nice weather, because if it was to rain for 3 nights, that field by Sunday, I don't know if it's going to be playable. So we'll see how that one goes. But for the Dragons, you've got Tyrell Sloan, Matthew Fagay, Moses Sully, Max Fagay, Ravalawa comes back into the lineup, Talatai Amone, Ben Hunt, Jack DeBellin, Moses Mumbai, Blake Laurie, Billy Burns, Jaden Sewer, and Jack Bird in the 13, with Jaden Sullivan, Michael Molo, Ben Murdoch, Masilla, Josh Kerr in the bench, with Toby Couchman in the 18th, with the extended bench of Jaden Hunt, Jacob Little, Zane Musgrove, and Viliami Fafita. Now, obviously, massive reports coming out today is that Ben Hunt has been training at hooker. Now,
They should.
I think if you're with the Queensland team, if you're a Queensland supporter, which you are, I think you're going brilliant. Ben Hunt plays brilliant at Queensland Origin. He plays brilliant in that hooker position, and we need him to start getting back into that motion. But I kind of look at it as this could go one of two ways. I think putting Hunt at the 9, I think that probably does give him one of their strongest spines if he makes the right decisions. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Zach Lomax is out after their 4th straight loss. That's who my stat is about, but we'll get to that in a second. What do you make of this squad? I'll give my stat on Lomax. I'll give my prediction, and then you can give me your stat and your prediction.
Yeah, big changes to this squad overall. Lomax and Little to play New South Wales Cup this weekend. Apparently, they didn't take the news too well. From all reports, they are emotional players, and I think Lomax didn't take this too well. It is what it is, but look, if you take the last, was it 4 or 5 games with this Dragon side, and if they converted every try that they scored, you probably put them up there at they'd probably be up there with, at 4th with the points.
I'll check in the stat there, because it does kind of tie to my stat, Baxter. In their 4 straight losses, they have outscored for tries every single team. So they have actually scored more tries than every team in every single of those 4 losses.
That's what I'm saying. If those 4 games, right, you had, you had 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 points to their whatever they've got at the moment. I think it's 6, but that's 14. So they're probably sitting second, not 4th. They're sitting second. If Isaac Lomax has got his kicking boots on, but it'd just be funny to see that in 2018 he was kicking about 80-point-something%, and now he's kicking in the low 60s, or I think, high 60s at the moment.
Oh no, it's low 60s. You were right the first.
Low 60s. So to go from there to here, and it was a big start. He's kicking at 80, then it was 79, then it was 76, then 75, then back up to 78 and 8. last year, and then he's just dropped well and truly
I was
down. So
actually, Max, I'll jump in there because I will give it back to you. But obviously, before we move on from Lomax, the Dragons obviously did. I didn't catch it, but I was listening to the Tripod weekend preview, and they were saying that the Dragons actually did change their kicking coach. And
don't
obviously, I
change it.
can't remember the name, but whoever it was that did come in is arguably one of the best kickers in NRL history. But what he's done is he's gone to Lomax and said, you're kicking the ball too high, you're kicking it above the post, you need to make it flatter, you need to change this, you need to change that. So I think it's kind of one of those ones where he had something, it was working, but this guy's come in and said, okay, we need to change a few tweaks to fix things, and it's just crumbled him. He's just absolutely crumbled at the kicking. So that could be a big talking point, but sorry to interrupt.
When a player is kicking at the percentage that he was in 2018, you do not change it. You do not change anything about it. You just tell him to keep kicking. If you give him free reign and he starts to drop on his own accord, well, then you bring in a coach and then a kicking coach like they have. But then, yeah, that responds about that's the normal response. Change something that's not working, and yeah. Does anybody else like for this weekend? It's going to be interesting when the St George Dragons, St George Illawarra Dragons cross over, because who's going to kick? Is it going to be Ben Hunt?
I reckon Ben Hunt. I reckon Ben Hunt will take
Ben Hunt. Well, okay, so the last 4 weeks, you lose the first game, you lose the second game by kicking. Do you not go, okay, Lomax, you're dropped from kicking duties in the third game, and just try and change something? Try and change. Just, okay, this week we're going to go Ben Hunt. And if Ben Hunt isn't working,
it's a tough one because we sit here and say they've outscored their opponents, but we're also not taking into account goal kicks that their opponents have missed that could have evened up the game or could have put more pressure on the scoreboard.
You can only change what you can do.
But what I'm saying, we're sitting here saying they'd be second if they kicked all their kicks.
Well, yeah, you got to change. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So the first week they lost by kicks. Okay, Lomax, it was a one-off game. The second game, okay, let's just change it up. Ben Hunt gives the third one. Ben Hunt doesn't, if he's kicking at 100%, right, and they won the game from their kicks, give him the kicking duties. It's not hard to just change.
We don't know if Ben Hunt's been practicing. Look at the Roosters. Let's take the Roosters, for example. We'll talk about them in a second, but Sam Walker got dropped and we all went, oh, Momorowski, 100%. Momorowski's kicking. Joseph Suolii's come out, has kicked 8 from 8. So just because we haven't seen it on the field doesn't mean that Ben Hunt's not getting the kicks up and is not practicing and going, come on, Lomax, you can get the job done. You can get it done. Okay, you're gone. I'd say there's other things than just kicking the reason he's being dropped.
For sure.
But maybe Ben Hunt's practicing and it was more so Lomax, you can do this, get the job right. Okay, he's dropped.
We're here to win. We're here to win games, and if it's not the best for you moving forward, well then step aside and let someone else take over those duties. I say it's a cutthroat sport at the moment, and the NRL stands for not very long. So you want to win games and you want to keep the people in position in jobs. So keep winning. If that means you have to change kicking personnel, we'll change it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. Obviously, like I said, the Roosters, and I'm sorry to keep bringing it back up, but that is who I support. But they made a change with Sam Walker. It wasn't working. They've won 2 on the bounce. So there is a lot of truth to what you say. I've seen the Cowboys drop players when they're not performing in the past, and it's worked out in their favor. So definitely a lot of things to take into consideration. Baxter, I guess before we give our tips, what's your magic stat, mate? Give us your magic stat.
Dragons have lost all 3 games in Magic Round by a margin of 20 points or more. So this is going to be an interesting one, and I have already circled who I believe is going to win.
Well, I will give him some credit. I can't remember what the first 2 weeks of Magic Round, first 2 years of Magic Round were, but I do know last year they went down in Golden Point against the Titans. So last one probably kind of lowered that average margin a little bit. It was probably a lot worse after the first 2 years at Magic Round, but it's a tough one. This is another toss of the coin. I think I saw it at the start of the week. I think it was the Dragons were 2.5-point favorites. It's now come into where there's almost no line because not even the bookies can separate these 2 teams. And I think the scary thing, it's not because of how good both teams are playing, it's how poor both teams are playing. Because I think the loser of this game goes a long way to potentially getting that wooden spoon. Let's be completely honest. The Dragons, they fleeced us. We went, oh my God, they're not going to be a bottom four side like we said at the start of the season. And then we fast forward 8 weeks later and we're going, holy shit, they could be a wooden spoon team. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a toss of a coin. It's going to be a toss of a coin. I'm almost tempted to toss this coin and see what does come up, but I'm going to go to Dragons 1-12.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting because for all the weeks I've slagged them off, I'm tipping the West Tigers in a 1-12 win here.
Well, you know what they say, when you finally have hope and they finally give you hope, that's when the Tigers let you down the most. So, Baxter, you could get a massive prediction here. I just look at the likes of if Ben Hunt goes to the 9, they fix up their halves partners. I think Ben Hunt is leaflet on number 9. I was talking to a few Dragons fans and they were saying, with Ben Hunt going to the 9, it gives us the backline we want. Yes, okay, it's not the biggest names, but it gives us that spine we want. It gives us that hooker that is absolutely electric, and nothing against Moses Mumbai, but I take Ben Hunt ahead of you at the number 9 jersey any day of the week and twice on Sundays. So I'm definitely going to go with this, the Dragons here 1-12. You've gone Tigers 1-12. It's going to be an interesting game.